Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In part 1, we saw how chess theory and concepts helped us make decisions in basic endgames. And in this part, let us examine how human perceive some middle game portions. In this video, we will look at portions from game of two great chess minds, Bobby Fischer and Magnus Carlsen. So the first portion is from the game, Fischer Ibrahimoglu from the year 1970. So in the portion in front of you, Fischer is white and it is his move. White has a huge portion advantage, and it's kind of a technical portion, you can even say, where white is almost very close to winning, and it's only a matter of technique after this. So white has the two bishops, and his opponent has weaknesses, weak pieces, and poor rooks and knights without outposts. So everything is kind of bad about black's portion, you can say. And yeah, Fischer played the natural queen d2 here. And to me, I've seen this game as a child and also as an adult when I've studied Fischer's games. But the move I'm about to show you and which Fischer missed is incredible, and it has always escaped my attention as well, even though I've seen the games many times. And the move was bishop h6 check, king into h6, and now a very important move, rook g8. The black king is not allowed to go back home, you can say, after grabbing the bishop. And now, incredibly, black has no way to escape mate. The game ends almost immediately. So white's threat is basically queen d2 and bishop e2 mate now. So let's see how black can defend against that. So if I try to run with my king, white stops black from escaping to f6. And now there's no way to escape me. h5, h4, king h6, and yeah, it's mate next move. Any other? So if I play f5 here, queen f5, king h6, we reach the same position without the f pawn, so it doesn't really help black. So king g5, h4, and queen e3 is mate again. So after bishop e7, white plays h4, and after queen d6, queen c1 check, king h5, bishop e2 mate. So every move leads to a forced mate after bishop h6 and rook g8. Fischer also won the game convincingly, but it is clear that this possibility escaped his mind. Let's move 43 years after Fischer's game to the game between Peter Svidler and Magnus Carlsen. So from Magnus Carlsen's most important tournament, probably the candidates which he won, and yeah, eventually become the world champion and dominate the game and so on. So in this position, after bishop into d4, Magnus chose a simple solution just like Fischer did and took on d3, c5, bishop e5, rook d3, bishop b8, and yeah, managed to win this position as convincingly as Fischer did. But just like in the Fischer game, there exists another possibility in this position, and that is to take on h3. Of course, seeing this move might not be so difficult, but Magnus in the press conference confessed that he did not consider this move, so that is interesting. So g into h3 is not a threat. Queen into h3, and there is rook g5 and rook h5. Both ideas are enough to convince you that you cannot take on h3. And after the critical move, bishop h3, de4, black plays rook g5 and g3. So now again black has to play a couple of accurate moves and the game is over, just like it's the Fischer game. Bishop g4, f3, and now the most important move of the combination, rook b2. After queen into b2, bishop f3, the rook hangs, g3 hangs, so it's basically over for white. So rook d3, I just take and play rook g2, win the queen. So white's best option would have been to play king f2 and play this position with an attack against the king and an extra pawn for black, which is completely winning. It is fascinating to see how close the perception and decision making of these two players from different eras are. and how close it is. To me, I would say Fischer advantage was bigger than Carlsen advantage. And I think this portion is more winning for Carlsen than for others. Um, his conversion rate and just his technique is so incredible, so this was good enough for him. I think there are two reasons why these moves escape our vision. Just the way that we learn chess and our theories don't just show us every possible move, but just the ones that are important to arrive at a goal. And of course, the human motivation to win. Once you see a winning idea, the mind does not look for another one, and we just choose whatever is available. So, as we can see again, even in middle game, so many possibilities constantly escape our vision. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.